Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 10 for the Chairman. For those of you that don't know, that is where I take 10 questions from the Star Citizen subscribers and answer them as best I can. For you that don't know about the subscribers, they're the folks that pay additional money every month to be able to support the extra amount of community content we do, which involves things like this show or Wingman's Hangar, creating the Jump Point monthly magazine, which originally was only 4 to I think 6 pages long and tends to be about 40 to 50 pages, cram-packed full of details of behind the scenes, how we're making the game, and there's a bunch of other some of the stuff that we do on the web, the stories, and more stuff that we've got planned is all made possible by subscribers, so thank you very much. Sitting next to me is David Haddock, our lead writer, and I thought I would have him along because sometimes it's nice to talk about something more than just the straight questions, maybe go in a little aside, give you a little more insight into the game, and then sort of hit the questions. So the first question I have on 10 for the Chairman is Idolo, who is saying, I was wondering, since our characters are now legal citizens of the Empire, will we be able to vote on issues that the Senate try to pass? So that's a good one, and so I thought that would be a good opportunity to have a little side conversation with David about sort of politics and kind of how we thought about how it would work, and then also how we thought it would affect the persistent universe. So, David, I was wondering, since our characters are now legal citizens of the Empire, will we be able to vote on the issues that the Senate tried to pass?
Well, I don't think you'd be able to vote directly on the bills, but we had talked about the idea that the characters that you're seeing sort of pop up in like the Congress Now news updates and stuff like that are the actual senators that are working have been elected.
And the one thing I think I probably want to let everyone know, because I do see it sometimes where people think that like some of the fiction is filler on our site, and that's actually not, because I had a few people, I just want to know more about how the game's getting made, and that's cool because we want to tell you more about how the game's getting made, but we actually very deliberately are sort of spoon feeding out like the world and creating the universe with what we do with, we have an update on Tuesday, we have an update on Thursday, and we're actually sort of kind of using it as an in-fiction way of revealing things and ideas and concepts and tensions that we want to have in the universe, and also in some cases play mechanics. So we've had pieces where the show where we're talking about the trucker show or whatever,
right?
And we sort of talk about some of the mechanics, or we had someone talking about piracy, and so the idea of some of the pieces is to sort of kind of in a in-fiction way highlight how we think some of the game mechanics are. So I would say that it's probably a good idea to read those, even if you feel like it's a lot of text. But back onto the point.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, so one of the things we talked about was having elections, basically. So the senators that you're reading about now have to run for office again, and so we basically would write up these sort of characters for them to run up against, do ads, do all sorts of like what is their belief platform and all this sort of thing, and then let the players vote for who they want to have in office, which would be a kind of a fun way for the community to throw us a curveball, because if we write up a character who you're sort of like internally like, well, he's probably going to become a despot if they elect him, and then you guys elect him, we have to kind of accommodate.
Well, sort of live storytelling, right? So like kind of one of our goals is that once the game is live, we want a lot of the player actions to sort of shape how it goes. So we've got an idea of we've got a general sort of big overall plan, which is sort of inspired by the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, but there's a lot of sort of directions that can go inside that large framework that we want to have sort of player fed. So this is a great example where you have the citizens vote on the senator, and then if they're voting for a particularly aggressive militaristic senator, then
or
perhaps
isolationist or something.
It would affect kind of how we would start to update the content after that. And there's other things that we're going to do. So like if there's battles involving 2 big groups of players, I mean we're actually essentially going to have think of it as a game master that plays a reporter role. So we're actually going to have some people that jobs are, when the full persistent universe going, is to sort of go around and just be watching and recording stuff, and then we basically collect news from around the universe, and then if you're going into a bar, and we'll be playing off in the Vegas sector, there was the Terran Confederation got into a brawl with one of our other organizations, the Goon Rathy or whatever, and there's a report. So it's like, so hopefully if you're playing the game, you'll sort of you'll feel like your actions actually start to become part of the lore. I mean, it's all part of that whole idea of Death of the Spaceman, where we've got like you've actually got a timeline. You've got our spaceships themselves get wear and tear. The characters get wear and tear. Time passes. Things change in politics. Players affect it. So that's all part of the spirit of how we think the universe itself will be actually a really fun, cool place. And we're kind of excited to. I mean, this is a ways away because obviously we've got a lot of other things to do before we get to this final state where the full game's all fully done. But and I think we're pretty excited about getting to that point and just seeing what happens, because already just what we see evolve on the forums on the web is more than we would have guessed, and the alliances and the groups and all the rest of stuff.
Well, it'll be kind of fun because it sort of blurs the line as to what is generated by us. To the average player, it'll be difficult to discern what was generated by the CIG and what's generated by other players. So it just becomes.
Yeah, and I think it would be great. I mean, it's almost like we will be editorial,
right,
for the player-generated content, which in some ways is also what we're doing with, like, the next great Starship. I mean, that is going to be user-generated content that is editorialized. So we say we think this is good enough to get in the game. We help guide it. So yeah, I think that will be hopefully a lot of fun when we get to do that. But until then, we still got a bunch of other things to do. All right, so that's our sort of big first aside question. So now onto the more quick-fire answers. Checkmate asks, Chris, if you weren't overseeing the whole Star Citizen project, what role would you like to have, or where do you think your talents would most closely lie on the team? Well, I guess that generally falls in programming or design. I mean, I kind of in some ways think programming is design. For me, the best game creators, game programmers have the programming background, because essentially programming is sort of designing a system and how it's all going to work, and you sort of set the parameters. So yeah, I mean, I would guess, I don't know, lead programmer or lead designer would be mostly what it is. I mean, when I started in the industry, there was projects weren't massive like say Star Citizen is. So I was like a band of one. I did the programming, I did the design, I did the graphics, I did the sound, I did the writing. So now, obviously, on something that's massive, you can't do all that. So of the stuff I'm doing more, I tend to do some hands-on coding because I'm kind of enjoying the design of some systems, and then just general overview of design. And art direction is fun too. I kind of like to do that. But I guess that's me overseeing the whole project, so that's kind of not really answering the question properly. All right, next question comes from Rear Admiral Murray, who asks, after the game is released, over time, as server and connection technology improves, will we potentially see larger but fewer PvP instances, so more players per instance? So yeah, the simple answer on that is yes. I mean, there isn't any like structural design in terms of how we're coding it, like like if it was 8-bit, you couldn't get over 256 players in an area. It's not built that way at all. It's really just going to be bandwidth throttled and performance throttled. So as those limits go away, we probably will be able to scale up more people in any particular area. But it's hard to say, because with the rate of changing technology and everything, who knows? Although bandwidth doesn't seem to move quite as fast as everything else. All right, next question comes from Spadjack, I think. Sorry if I mispronounced it. I noticed that you are number 5 in the UEE citizen records. Who are numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4? Well, I didn't actually know who these were, so I went and asked our web team, and it actually turns out I'm actually number 4 in the UEE citizen records, not number 5. Number 1 is the RSI Prime basic admin account. Number 2 is the old website's admin account. Number 3 is Ben Lesnick, who is in front of me, and then I am number 4. But since I don't know, Mr. Star Citizen, the web team has graciously agreed to, or offered to make me number 1, which I think is suiting. So from now on, I will be known as number 1. Okay, next question from Uncle Mo. Can you tell us more about your goals for the shooter portion of Star Citizen? Will it be an awesome first-person shooter or some sort of third-person tab-targeting style shooter? Will it focus on PvE or PvP or both? Well, I'm all about awesome first-person shooters. So it's not likely to be third-person tab-style targeting shooter. Haven't decided whether you'll be able to sort of pop out to see yourself in third person or not, because sometimes the character is really cool to look at. But in general, it's designed as a first-person game. Crisis is a first-person game. That's the engine that we're built on, and the team that's working on the first-person side of the game, his background is all in like first-person shooters, and really inspired by sort of the Unreal tournaments and all that kind of stuff. Although we're not going to be sort of quick and arcadey the same way that say some of the old-style Unreal Tournament or Quake-style shooters are, because of our death mechanics. So we've got I would say that our first-person combat is sort of slightly more realistic and more tactical, and there's more at stake. And we're going to be announcing and sharing more about that probably in, I wouldn't say in the next month or so, but after the dogfight, we're going to start to share that. And one of the additions onto the dogfighting will be sort of the boarding addition onto it. So we're going to get dogfighting V1 will be sort of the single-seater ships. Dogfighting V2 will be more the multi-crewed ships, and then we'll move on to sort of boarding, and then they'll all sort of get tied together, which will be kind of cool. Okay, so Camiel asks, will it be possible to remote operate a ship? If I have two transports and want to take both on a mission by myself, will it be possible to connect these two, e.g. Starfarer's belly against belly? I would say not really. I don't think we have any plans for that. You certainly will be able to hire either an NPC or another player to fly your second ship for you, with the risks that you have with that, i.e. are they good, are they not good, all the rest of stuff, but you certainly can hire, like I said, NPCs and other players to fly your other ships. Euro Warrior asks, will there be an engineering look for our ships, so we can walk around a selected ship in the hangar and see through the ship to see all the various systems? So we had a meeting earlier today where we were talking about sort of mobiGlas and what it can do, and so we're talking about a unified system that will be from mobiGlas potentially into your ship's sort of heads-up display, and even if you have a helmet on, into your helmet-mounted display. The mobiGlas will actually have a mode where like you can essentially do what the holotable does, but on your mobiGlas. And then there's some other engineering kind of stuff where you can manage systems, and we were also talking about having that happen on your mobiGlas, so you can sort of pull up the different systems you have on your ship and set them for different power ratings and all that kind of stuff. And I would think that the way we're doing the mobiGlas is it's sort of got an augmented reality, so you would like essentially pass the mobiGlas over your ship, and then like it highlights with like a hollow outline around over the elements that you're thinking about. So that would essentially be how you would sort of see the ship systems. So it'd be pretty cool. So there you go. Next question comes from Krell, who asks, will there be a reason to ever fly at less than max velocity, i.e. cruising speed, say 80% of maximum, using far less fuel or less wear on components, or where an upkeep be modeled, or some other reason not to always go as fast as the ship will fly? So yes, there will definitely be a reason to go less than max velocity. First off, if you're in a dogfight, you will be able to turn much tighter at a lower speed, or speeder I should say, at a lower relative velocity to whoever you're dogfighting with or whatever sort of celestial object you're around, because you'll be able to turn a much tighter turn, because you'll be able to sustain, you tighter turn because your G's you're going to be G limited, right? So your flight control system will essentially keep you inside the limits of what your body can take. And if you're going very fast and you try to pull a tight turn over a very short period of time, you'll experience a huge amount of G's and you'll black out. And we're modeling G-lock and all that kind of stuff. So that will be a reason not to be flying at max velocity. Other reasons would be use of fuel, because when you're at max velocity, it's just like a car, you're not going to be as efficient. And we have wear on components, and we do model wear and upkeep on the model. So you'll actually see your ship get grime and dirt and age over time you're playing it. You can take it into a planet and get it sort of scrubbed up, but it'll never be pristine showroom quality until you buy a new one. So it'll be like a real car, so which would be kind of cool, I think. All right, so next question comes from Dreeper, who says, how satisfied are you with CryEngine so far? Are there any things you fear you cannot realize with it that would have been in your dream version of Star Citizen? So yeah, and I'm very satisfied with CryEngine so far. It's a very powerful engine. I think it's one of, if not the best looking engine out there for the kind of look and style that I want, which is a sort of more photorealistic look. I mean, obviously we have some challenges because we're using the engine for something that it wasn't primarily built for, i.e. we're having big space, open, like space. We've got vehicles that fly at fast speeds over long distances, whereas CryEngine was built for sort of first-person on-foot combat. So generally their play areas are sort of 4 kilometers by 4 kilometers or 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers. Ours will be millions of kilometers across. So we have to do modifications to the engine to enable that. But most of the things I think that I want to get done are getting done. I mean, there is some longer term stuff I want to do where we're going to go seamlessly from, say, space down to the planet. This is very long term, not the initial release. But we're pretty sure that we'll be able to get that worked into the framework of the engine. I mean, my guess is that down the road, as we're up and running, as we continue to add more content, the engine itself will be so heavily modified that it won't really resemble the base engine it came from, because we've got such specific needs for what we're doing. But yeah, it's a great engine. We're really happy. We really love the look of it. Last question comes from Assyrium, who asks, how will the chat system in the game work? When we stumble across another player in space, how will we communicate with him? Will it be via voice chat, text chat, or both? So we're going to still flesh that out. I mean, our goal is to try and have voice over IP. We're also going to try and have this technology which we've got up and running. So we'll probably have it called Live Driver, where you can talk, and the webcam on your computer is looking at your face, and it transcribes it to your avatar. So your avatar's mouth moves sort of along lines with what your mouth's moving, but you're hearing your voice. And we'll probably do some level of voice processing on it, because there's a lot of real-time filters that we can apply in the sound system that we're going to use. So it'll be cool. It'll be sort of like I'll be talking to you as a pilot. We're going to let people hail other people, and then if someone accepts the hail, then you can talk to them, because you also don't want people just always abusing you and spamming you. If you don't want to use voice chat, you could also be using sort of text chat in a box. So you'll hopefully have both those options. So voice over IP is definitely part of our plan. So far we're planning to have it in. Probably won't be in for dogfighting V1. I'm not even sure whether we'll have text chatting for Dogfight V1, but as the year progresses, this stuff will get in there. But I'm sure you will find ways to harass each other without having it built into the system, probably having Skype open at the same time or whatever. Okay, so that was the last question. Thank you for joining me. As always, thank you to the subscribers for making all this possible. Thank you for Dave Haddock for joining me and helping sort of elaborate on some of the stuff that we're trying to do in the sort of living universe. And thank you to all the backers out there for helping us make basically this dream game for us all to play, and hopefully for you guys to play. So see you next week. Bye.